Hello and welcome to Rekindling Journeys, Reconnect with me, Shelley Keredwen. And today I'm super excited to have my friend Yvette Farkas with me, dialing in from Dominican Republic today. Yvette is someone that I met last year, actually at the Eco Village that me and my family stayed at for 4 months. So probably one of only a handful of people that actually came to visit us there to see what that chapter of my life was all about. Hi, Yvette.
Hi, Shelley. So great to be here with you. Thank you so much for the invite to share this space with you. Yes, it was quite a beautiful and magical meeting that we had in the Eco Village, and it was such a pleasure to connect with you and your family and hear more about that chapter in your life. And I know we connected just like, it was flames. It was instant. We had such an amazing conversation. It was great.
It was so good, and immediately like you were just so interesting, and like this life that you're living, so quite a nomadic existence that you have been living, and kind of Dominican Republic seems like that is your hub with plenty of room for travel in between.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of who you are and a little bit about the journey that you've taken to get to where you are today?
Sure. So I was born in Hungary, and then we went through another country and eventually landed in Canada with my parents. So as an immigrant, we grew up here, learning a new language and just navigating as newcomers to a new country. So that had its challenges as well as its beauty. Shortly after I graduated and finished some of my studies, I began traveling, and the school of life, really. Travel is incredible for this. I mean, you open up your heart, you see different perspectives, you have whatever you think you knew, you threw out the window because you realize there are so many ways up the mountain, and none of them are right or wrong. They're just different options for us to take on life. It definitely helps you grow in a new way when you open your mind and you have new perspectives coming in. And so that's been a main portion of my life, is going to different countries and studying or teaching or learning as I go. And it's been really great. Now, something that's been a really strong part of my life, especially from Hungarian culture, is a very strong shamanic background, a spiritual background, having a very powerful connection to nature and the cosmos and our own inner self, and learning to really look deep within for answers, and realizing that the entire universe is within us, and that we are here and we're born for greatness, all of us, and we're all here to live the life of our dreams. But most of us have forgotten that. And it's just this incredible pleasure to be meeting people who are reflecting that, and also to assist and empower others to do that as well.
I love that. Something my spiritual mentor said to me recently was, we are not a drop in the ocean. We are the ocean in a drop.
Yes, isn't that beautiful? Indeed, indeed. As above, so below. Yes, as the saying goes.
So I'd love to kind of lean into that a little bit. So you kind of came, so it sounds like as though your spiritual journey started from a fairly young age. And then with all of this travel, I imagine you met a lot of interesting characters along your path. And how did they then kind of shape and nurture that inner journey that you've taken along your way? Is there anyone that kind of really stands out for you?
There are several individuals, definitely, that I am incredibly grateful to have had as mentors and teachers and guides. The first one that comes to mind, aside from my parents' immediate family, of course, is Mick Walsh. He was my first martial arts instructor. And I spent many, many years training with him. And I also did an apprenticeship to become an instructor myself. And his leadership and mentorship style was incredible. Even as a child, he had all of the students write out their goals, short-term, mid-term, long range. And this was in the 80s, before, the Tony Robbins, before all of this mindset became an important part of everyday life for the most part. He was doing this 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And it was incredible because even as a child, I now became very conscientious and conscious of my vision for the future and what I needed to do to get there. And we would break it down. And every month we would have an interview to see, here's your goal sheet. This is what you said you were going to accomplish. How's that going? Did you do it? Yes? Great. How does it feel? Now, you didn't do it. Okay, well, what's blocking you? What's stopping you? What's happening? Let's move backwards and unblock that. Let's help you move forward. So it was already about mindset. It was already about linking past, present, and future, and understanding that the actions we take today will impact us tremendously. So then you became very self-aware of what you were thinking and what you were doing, and really understanding the connection between what you did now and the future. So you became empowered in a sense because you realized, well, I can affect my future based on what I'm going to do today. And this is, from the child's perspective, a very simplistic thinking, but that's where it starts. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with that one step. But make sure you know which direction you're going to be stepping into. So decide where you want that journey to take you, where you want to go, while at the same time leaving yourself up to the magic of the unknown. As Joe Dispenza says, there's so much magic in the unknown, and that's true. We can plan, and planning is great, but we also need to be flexible. And that's the beauty of that yin and yang exchange, where yes, you need structure, but you also need to be flexible to remain open to that unknown space, because that's also where there's magic, and that's beautiful too. So Sensei Mick Walsh would be one person I would say I learned tremendous amounts from him, completely set my life on this beautiful course. And I'm incredibly grateful because really I learned life lessons from him that went way beyond martial arts training, on the physical level, on the mental level, business lessons, psychology, human interaction, communication. It was all a part of our apprenticeship. And I mean, that's incredible training to have as a young person. And you take those skills into every other area of life. So that's definitely one I would start with.
And I love the fact that you did that when you were a child, and you, like what you're doing now, and I know we'll kind of talk about some of the bits in between, but what you're doing now is really feeding that back and really sharing some of those lessons with children and parents through story.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah. So I'm just to add to what you're saying, I've begun writing a series of children's books that are secretly for adults, because these timeless lessons of wisdom and practices, they're for all of us. They're for all of us. Mindfulness, peacefulness, reconnecting to yourself, your intuition, learning to understand your gut instinct, learning to really connect and ground yourself. There's so many beautiful timeless pieces of wisdom that are hidden within the books. And I have an incredible illustrator, Jana Rothman, who is also creating these beautiful works of art with little seeds of wisdom implanted into the art. So there are layers and layers of messages within the art, sacred geometry, mathematical sequences, frequencies represented as visuals and light. And so it's going to be a pretty incredible, beautiful series of books, and they're based on adventures that my nephews and I and the family have had. And so we go through a series of challenges, and we see how to solve those challenges in different ways, just to give the reader options and open their mind to different possibilities and different ways of looking at things, and find new ways up the mountain, basically. And again, there's no right or wrong. It's just make a choice based on the knowledge you have and keep expanding and creating and growing and learning.
And isn't it important to give children challenges? Like yesterday, small example, I was at the beach with my son. He needed to use the washroom, not one that you can do in the sea. So the choices were, we jump in the car and drive to the nearest one, which wasn't too far away. We walk, or he had a balance bike in the car. So I'm like, I'm not going to take the car. It's too easy. And I was with friends who could look after my daughter. So we're like, we're going to walk. Actually, we're going to take the balance bike. So we took the balance bike on the side of the road. it wasn't easy. He hasn't used the balance bike much, so he was like trying to get his balance. It took us quite a while to get there. We got there. And then we thought, on the way back, maybe we'll go to the beach. Maybe that will be an easier route because there's not the cars to contend with if he kind of falls off balance. So we went down onto the beach. The sand at this beach is one that you just sink into. It was about 3 times harder to push the balance bike on the beach than it was on the road. But we had such an adventure, kind of testing different parts of the beach, the dry sand, the wet sand, seeing which one was easier. Then we were like looking for the kind of crispy sand because we realized that that was the easiest one. And that's the one that you could really kind of get some momentum and glide on. So whilst we took quite a long time to get to the washroom and back, I really feel like he learned some lessons. I probably worked my muscles a little bit as well. And I think we all need these adventures, and life for some people can be very comfortable. We've made life particularly uncomfortable for ourselves over the last 2 years, leaving the UK, coming to Canada. We've lived in a number of different homes. We've got used to packing, unpacking, different schools, moving into the eco village. So we've made life hard. We've given ourselves challenges. And I really feel like you do come out stronger with a deeper learning of yourself. I'd love to hear about some of the challenges that you've thrown yourself into along your journey.
Sure. And that's a great example that you give, and how beautiful that is, because we grow a lot when we're challenged, when we're pushed out of our comfort zone, when you break through the shell of your egg and you see a whole new world, then you're challenged again. And true resilience is actually about putting yourself in a stressful situation or a challenging situation that you have to overcome. And this builds confidence. This builds self-esteem. This builds connections. This builds idea of I can do this. This is amazing. And that satisfaction. And realizing, you know what, I can do this, I can do that too, and I can do more. And I can go for this dream and that goal because I'm capable. And this is one thing that's beautiful. I learned even in martial arts training, when you finally mastered a technique, although you never really master, you're always improving constantly, learning different ways of going about things. When you challenge yourself to the next challenge and the next challenge, this is how you build resilience. So you never stagnate at one level, or when you reach a goal, you say, great, that's wonderful. You don't stop there. Then you see there's a next goal and the next one and the next one. That's growth, isn't it? And so in the situation that you just mentioned, there's so many wonderful learning opportunities that happened, which is beautiful. And it's good to read and understand the theory of things, but then to actually go through the actions, to do it, to live it. It's a whole other learning that you embody. You embody it. So it's important to have the mental portion and also the embodied physical portion, both. Yeah. And so for me, I did martial arts for 30 years and I taught for many years. And I actually had a career-ending accident at one point. And it was really hard and really great at the same time, because up until that point, my whole life revolved around martial arts, my entire identity. My friends were martial artists, my activities outside of martial arts were all martial arts based or meant to support my training. And I had always known that there were other reasons that I came and was born, and that I needed to share with people, and that there were other things I had to do as well. But I really enjoyed the martial arts. It was a great activity. It fulfilled me on many levels. This was a good life. There was nothing wrong with that life, but there was more that I needed to do. And I kept stagnating here. And so I fell and broke my knee in a way where I nearly lost my leg and the ability to walk. It took me over a year to learn how to walk again, and then 5 years to get the strength and the coordination to bicycle and do many other things. So this was a huge learning journey. And one of the first things I realized that was really painful for me was that I lost my identity, my sense of who I was, because so much of who I believed myself to be was wrapped up in this idea of Yvette, the martial artist. So now Yvette was the blank slate again. And who do I want to be? What do I want to create? What kind of life do I want for myself?
Wow.
And this is incredibly painful for anyone who has their ego wrapped up in their identity, at least to the extent that I had. And that was almost more painful than the accident itself, to be very honest. And you really start from scratch. You build up your life from scratch, and you have to really soul search and wonder, well, what do I want? What do I want to do? And I thought, well, one of the reasons I loved teaching martial arts is because it gave me such a sense of fulfillment to see people develop, to transform, to be better, to bring out their best, and to go away feeling their soul satisfaction and feeling good about themselves. And I thought, yes, but there's more. There's much more. Because besides the soul satisfaction, what is it that you were born to do? What is it that you need to activate within yourself to bring out your other gifts? What is it that's in you, that's your inner greatness that you came here to reflect into the world and to make a difference? So that's where I started on that path. And prior to that, my background was in Taoist medicine and acupuncture and Ayurvedic medicine, as well as martial arts, and I have yogic training and some other certifications. And this is where I thought, okay, I'm going to come back and first work on myself, number one, and be the student again, and I was really humbled, Shelley. I was brought down to my knees at below zero at that point. And I felt like I had lost everything I had worked for up until that moment in life. And it was a gift because it was the greatest teacher. It forced me to go deep within myself and look at what else I came here to do. What is it that I have not allowed myself to develop or to see or to work through because I had blocks or fears or other challenges that made me feel a little uncomfortable, or I didn't feel good enough, this idea of not being enough. And I think a lot of us have this, the sense of not enough self-worth and self-esteem. There's a difference between self-worth and self-confidence. You can be very confident in a skill set, in your ability to do something, and not feel you're worthy of appreciation, for example, just basics. And so this is something I think a lot of people struggle with, and I certainly see that in my clients. And it's something at that point I really had to go through and soul search about. Those were some of the areas that I really worked on. And I went back and I started to share some of my learnings with people. Some of my clients, at that point, my TCM, acupuncture, Ayurvedic clients would come back. And since I approach them differently now, very open-hearted, and saying, well, this is where I'm coming from. These are the limitations I've noticed in myself that I didn't see before, or I didn't want to see before. But now I'm willing to go there and I'm leaning into it because I want to improve. I want to grow. I want to build. I guess everybody around me could see that too, and they felt some inspiration there, and it rubbed off. And we co-created together many, many beautiful experiences.
Yes. So now you're kind of acting as a coach.
Yeah, I mentor a lot of individuals, and I have a health practice that is really soul-based. So I work with a technology called bioresonance, and what it does, it scans the body's energy levels. It's like having an MRI scan, PET scan, CAT scan, blood test in one. And what I notice, so it will bring certain results of where your body is at the moment. And so, for example, if somebody has arthritis, I already know that arthritis on the physical level is inflammation of the joints, typically. Okay, that's one start. But what causes that? So there's a certain psychological pattern, a thinking pattern, a mindset that will create the physiological reaction resulting in something like arthritis. And for example, I know that typically it's going to be somebody who is a perfectionist, or that they don't feel they're enough. They're constantly having to prove their self-worth, or they need to control. They feel the need to control situations in their life to feel good. And so we start having a soul-to-soul conversation around these topics. And then once they make the connection, oh yes, I do get very tense when things don't go my way, or when the kids don't act like this, or if my morning doesn't go just so. And then we start to delve deeper into that and really have an open-hearted conversation. And then I connect them with other professionals who will help them release the blocks and help them move forward in those areas of their life. And inevitably, what happens is when the tension in the mind starts to relax, then the physical pain also dissolves in the body. It's really very simple, but simple and easy are two different things. You might know the formula, but doing it is a whole other thing. So
I think this is going to be a really new topic to a lot of people. So I'm really excited to kind of hear about that and hear that you can really connect different thinking patterns with diagnoses.
Yes, yes. There's certain thinking patterns that will create a physiological response in your body. When you're stressed, you will create stress hormones that can create inflammation and blockages in the body and different types of tensions, and they will result in specific symptoms. So you can work backwards. Either way, you can go from the physical back to the mind level, or from the mind level and go to the physical. Sometimes you don't have the physical symptoms showing up yet because it's still in the beginning stages. But if somebody is showing up and they're saying, I'm really depressed, okay, well, let's start there. Well, let's differentiate. Is this the type of depression that is a sad and weepy type? Or is it the kind of depression where you don't feel anything? It's a flat depression. Because based on where you're starting from, the way you're going to approach that will be very different. So it's really important to ask the right questions and get very clear on what's going on. And inevitably, it always comes back to this sense of disconnect. This is what I've seen in my practice, Shelley, that no matter what the symptom, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical, it comes back to this one idea. If somebody is not aligned, if they're having some sort of symptom, disease, imbalance, it comes back to this idea of you not being connected to your soul purpose. If you are connected to your soul purpose, you are living a joyful existence. You cannot wait to get out of bed and live the life of your dreams, because that's what you're created and you're doing what you were born to do. There's a disconnect and there's a tension, and you're always going to be looking for that something to fill you, to fulfill you. And some people do it through addictions. Some people do it through, there's a lot of different ways we try to fill that void. But really, it's not even a void. It's simply a matter of going deep within and reconnecting with who you truly are and what you were born for. And we were all born for greatness. And this is what I love to do when I work with clients, is to help them understand what that is, to help them remember it. And when they remember it, and then we help them find ways to actually achieve it and live it, incredible transformations take place. Incredible healing takes place. It is unbelievable. I never cease to be amazed at the transformations I see in my clients when they reconnect with who they are, with their soul purpose, and they finally have this aha moment. And then they also realize, I can do this. I can do it. It's possible. It's possible.
And I know for myself, like the journey that I've been on Yvette over the last couple of years, how different I feel today to working in a corporate environment with 2 young children. And there was very little time. I think there would normally be about 1 hour at the end of the day to do anything for myself, which at that time, it was inevitably, you put on Netflix for an hour to just like chill out, because you've just not stopped for the whole day. And you've not stopped, but you're serving someone else's messages. So you're on someone else's agenda. And I came out here thinking I was going to do a 6-month postgrad diploma, and then I'll go back to the workplace and get another internal comms gig. And as it happened, my soul purpose, my reason for being here, came through to me as quickly as, so I got here in the August, and by the November, I already had an idea of what that was. So August, that was not very long really. And I think for some people, but there was a long process in coming to Canada. Like it was a big ordeal, a big upheaval. And I've heard that something like that, something that big, can really spark that as well. So for some people, that realization is going to come quickly. Other people really do need support to get them to realize that and to be asking the right questions. And interestingly, when you were talking about after your accident and you realized you had to dig deep, but you were asking yourself the questions. And like as I've transitioned from communications to become a coach, I'm learning all the questions to be asking as a coach, and I am asking myself them all the time. So I don't think you hear about this win-win benefit of becoming a coach, the fact that you coach yourself. And you know, we still need coaches ourselves anyway, all along the way. But being able to coach yourself, to know the questions to ask of yourself, but also giving yourself time to hear the answers. So maybe we could go into some kind of meditation practices or any rituals that you have in your life that really help you to listen, to understand, to kind of help you navigate which direction to take next.
Yes, sure. So there are a couple of different things that I do in these circumstances. And when I'm looking for guidance, well, I will ask for guidance directly from my guides. And I'll also do mind mapping. So I'll take a sheet of paper and I'll write the main question or the topic that I'm looking for guidance on. And then I'll just stream of consciousness, write it out as a mind map. And that's a beautiful way to integrate the subconscious, the conscious through physical movement. And you make a deal with yourself to not analyze it. You're just going to let it go, free flow, whatever comes out. And this is a beautiful way to tap into your subconscious to get some really good clarity around the topic of your choice. So this is another thing. And then there's another lovely technique that I quite enjoy is, I learned from Sonia Choquette, is you take a few deep breaths and you look around the room to just open up your mind a little bit.
Let's
clarify.
do it together, shall we?
Okay, sure.
Invite any listeners to do this with us.
All right, sure. So have a topic, have a question that you want to ask. So make sure you're very clear about your question, just in your mind, keep it in your mind. So we're going to inhale deeply, exhale, inhale again, exhale. Now open your eyes and just look around the room. Look at different things. Notice what's on the wall, on the table, on the desk. Don't stop anywhere, just keep looking for a moment. Okay. So now you're going to inhale, and as you exhale, just make a sound. The next inhale, we're going to say, my question is, as you inhale and then say your question, inhale, say your question. And then as you exhale, say, and my heart says, and feel for the answer. And you can do it again. You can inhale and say, my question is, and exhale, saying, and my heart says. And what's the first thing that comes up when your heart responds? Not your brain, but your heart. That's your answer.
I love this. Thank you so much for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Interestingly, when I took my son to the beach yesterday and we were on this adventure, he'd found a feather. So obviously I knew the direction back, but I was like, why do we let the feather guide us? Can you communicate to the feather? And he was like, yeah. And he was letting it. And I was like, oh, this could be a really nice practice to bring in, because it's obviously his soul self is directing him and the feather, but he's kind of playfully.
What a beautiful thing to do, especially with children. You already set them up for this idea of what is possible and that they can use different techniques to tap into their own intuitive abilities, really. Yeah, oh, it's
Yes.
beautiful, Shelley.
Yeah, I'm really keen to nurture this soonest.
Mm,
So you've spoken about one of the pivotal characters, your early martial arts teacher. And I wonder, any other communities, whether they are in person or online communities,
mhm.
that have really helped to kind of hold you, to nurture in your becoming kind of the different versions of Yvette along your way?
Yes, I would love to call out some of those beautiful communities. So one of them is Mind Valley, and it's an online and in-person space where for personal growth. And they have incredible mentors and coaches from around the world that create specialized programs from every dimension of life, whether business, yoga, mental, physical, emotional, that you can take, and they're incredible. It's self-paced, and you meet beautiful people who truly want to see you succeed as well as work on themselves to succeed. It is positive, it is uplifting, it is connected, it is very well organized. It's great. It's a wonderful group of people. I also have an accountability group. So we meet once a week and we hold each other accountable for our personal growth and development and our goals. And so each of us has time in the virtual hot seat where our accountability group then just encourages us and also brainstorms with us if we are stuck in any moment. So this is incredibly powerful to have peers who are not afraid to hold you accountable, number one, in a loving and supportive environment, truly want your best, and know how to approach you and the good questions to ask to help you dig deep and unblock yourself. So this is super important and incredibly valuable. The other group community that I'm a part of is David Sarita's Inner Circle. It's fantastic. He teaches toning and use as the biggest frequency library in the world. It's incredible, incredible. And so we learn all about how to use our body as an instrument and our voices to tone and create a vibrational frequency for specific healing. It is based on ancient practices and modern technology, and David Sarita is a master at this. He explains very well, and the community is beautiful. And every Wednesday, we have a practice session where we go through different frequencies and we experience what it's like to tone and tune into that frequency as it resonates in our bodies, because our bodies are crystalline structures and crystals shake and vibrate, creating a specific effect. So this is a beautiful community, and we really support each other in our growth as well here.
Beautiful. Oh, I'm so intrigued about this. I'm going to look this one up. It's bringing to mind a really beautiful singer that I love on YouTube, Maylan Moritz.
She's wonderful.
Oh,
She's wonderful.
yeah, and she's
Beautiful
done.
voice.
Yes, I have signed up to a few of her programs that is a little bit about that, like voice and frequencies, and kind of do lots of oohs and ahs, and it's really awakening your energy from within.
Yes, that's a beautiful example, Shelley. Yes, and using our voices. And you know what? I was told growing up that I have a terrible voice. Please do not sing. And when I was at my teacher's training course in the ashram, the Swami would say to us, because we all had to take turns leading the mantras, do not be worried about how you sound. It is your intention and your spirit behind it, the pronunciation and practice, because by doing the mantra, by creating the vocal auditory frequency, you're actually creating healing, and you're improving your range, you're improving your voice as a natural side effect of practice. But the goal isn't to sound good. The goal is to use the frequency to align, to rebalance and heal. So it's a different intention. So he said, never worry about how you sound. That's not the point of singing a mantra or using tones to create sound. So it's a very interesting, and that was beautiful because it freed us up from the egos vanity of wanting to look good and sound good, all that went out the window. And we just sang at the top of our lungs, really putting 100% in. And that's when you felt the result. When you let go of your ego and yourself, you got out of your own way and you just went for it. You went for it. And that's, I find, such a good approach. If you can, what is that saying? Dance like no one's watching. That really is the way to go. Yes.
I love this.
Mm-hmm.
One more community I think you were going to talk about before I jump into
Yes, I was going to talk about Elena Bensonov and Alejandro's community called holistic.com, and they also use technology based on scalar wave technology and Dr. Hawkins' map of consciousness, which maps out the different levels of consciousness based on feelings: apathy, shame, anger, pride, jealousy, peace, joy, love, etc. And each one carries a certain frequency, which is measurable. And based on that frequency and that state of consciousness, that's where you view your world from. So if somebody's on a state of shame, they're going to react and live their life from that state. And everything they say and think and do is going to be based on the reaction of somebody who's feeling that feeling. And as you can up-level yourself and go through different layers of consciousness or frequencies, your intention and your way of navigating in the world shifts as well. And it's very similar with the chakra system, for example, which I discuss in my kids' books. So looking at the world from the root chakra level, for example, let's talk about something like eating. When you're eating from the level of the root chakra, you're eating because you're hungry. That's it. You're hungry and you need to feed your body. But let's say you're eating from the level of the heart chakra. You're now eating because it serves to connect you with people. You're sharing a meal. It's sharing a love through food. So it's very different, the different states of consciousness and why you would do the exact same thing. Yeah.
Interesting. Because we're just toying with like time restricted eating at the moment, and it's something that I'd done years ago and kind of slipped off the wagon a little bit, so now doing it a lot more consciously. So I'm not typically eating until like 11, 12. The other day I just hadn't eaten, and then it got to 2 o'clock. I was just like not hungry then. I've been hungry in the morning, I pushed through it, and then I was like, actually I'm fine. Whereas today, before this call, I was like, I'm really hungry. And I did get myself something to eat. So I'm like, I'm going to listen to my body and I'm going to feed it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
But
one isn't better than the other. It's just a different place to be in.
But it's interesting because before that, it's very rare that I would feel hunger. I think a lot of people don't, we're blessed that we don't have to feel hunger. But actually, is it healthy to feel hunger from time to time?
I love this question. I love this question. And for me personally, my subjective answer is yes, because you need contrast. Contrast is good to help you really appreciate the opposite, number one. And number two, it's nice to give yourself a break. So it's nice to give your digestive system a real break. So it rests and it has time to recharge and reduce inflammation and actually reset. And I think that's really good for many areas of life. We appreciate people when we don't see them for a few days or a few weeks. We appreciate so many things that we might take for granted otherwise when it becomes the everyday norm. And, there's this approach to life where you can see everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle, but to actually maintain that worldview and with the heart and actually appreciate everything in your life, it takes a conscious effort. So practices like maintaining a gratitude journal or every morning or every evening going through a list and writing it out and saying, these are the amazing moments of magic that I got to experience. These are the beautiful people I connected with. This is what opportunities came my way. This is what I had the finances to pay for. This is what beautiful gifts the universe sent my way today. And always remind yourself, because then you're saying to the universe, I appreciate it. I really like this. Send me more. Send me more of that. And that's why when people complain, well, that's what they're going to continue to create as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Thank you for sharing that. I'm I'm delving a bit more into this at the moment, and the whole like law of attraction, law of deliberate creation, all of that. Yeah, Mind Valley has come up a few times actually. I delved into silver.
The silver method. Yes.
Radar, meditation. Is that something that you've experienced?
Yes, it's fantastic. I did their course. I've done several of their courses, and or they have one course, but I've done it over and over again. It's excellent training. Yes. Yeah. Have you?
I have. I didn't do that one with Mind Valley. I did it with someone else, but I knew that they had it on Mind Valley. And it's very interesting because I remember part of it, you imagine your guides. And you can even imagine like real life people as your spirit guides, people that you would then ask. So these questions were like, as a coach, you're asking yourself these good questions. Well, imagine that you've got these spirit guides that you actually give personas. So I remember when I was coming up with mine, for some strange reason, I had Ryan Reynolds in my mind. Like, I don't even know if he's spiritual. Anyway, but he's fun, and he's not afraid to put his hand to things that he doesn't really know about and just like test and learn. So I'm like, okay, I guess Ryan Reynolds is going to be one of my spirit guides. So if I've got a question, I'll just like, and I haven't used it a lot, but it was just an interesting thing. And I have used it a couple of times, and maybe the stuff that I do can be quite serious. So actually going in and asking a spirit guide like Ryan Reynolds might just bring a bit more of a jovial lightness to what I'm going to be sharing.
Yes, and there's no accident. So there's a reason that your subconscious chose to create this personality that we're calling Ryan Reynolds for exactly the reason you just stated. And your subconscious knew that was the counterbalance that was going to maximally assist you in your future questions.
And this is it. Realistically, we're just asking ourselves, we're just asking the universe, but it can help to channel, to imagine asking someone else and perhaps asking for someone else's perspective. I have used my spiritual mentor, who is on the island here, but I don't see him all that much. But I can feel myself asking him questions, even when we're not together, and can kind of sense what he would be telling me.
Yes. Yeah. It's a beautiful practice. It's great. Yeah.
So we have talked through some of the people, some of the communities, some of the rituals. I wonder if there is anything else here that you really feel called to share, and we'd love to know if any of our listeners would like to find you. Where is the best place to direct them, and when are those books going to be available?
Thank you for this question. So the first series, the chakra books with my nephew Ethan, should be available by the end of the summer. And I'll have them in print form, audio books, digital books. So there'll be a variety of options. And the website that's still being built at the moment will be singingsoulbooks.com. So you'll be able to get more information there. And another good place to connect with me in general would be on my LinkedIn account. So you can look up Yvette, spelled with a Y, V-E-T-T-E, Farkas, F as in Frank, A-R-K-A-S. And you'll see me there. And if in the description you see practitioner of ancient healing practices and bioresonance expert and author, then you've got the right Yvette. That would be me.
Beautiful. And I'll include all the links, here as well.
Okay.
It's just been so beautiful to connect with you. Do you have any plans to return to Vancouver Island in the coming
Yes, actually, I'll be going there in about a week and a half to visit family. So
Oh,
if you're
wonderful.
still there, maybe we'll see each other in person again and have a
I'm
cup of
here until
tea.
late June, and then we're heading to the
Ah,
UK for a few weeks. So hopefully I'll get to see you before.
perfect. All
Yes.
right, that's
Thank
excellent,
you
Shelley.
so much for joining me. I
Oh, it's been a
appreciate
pleasure.
all of the insights, so valuable.
Thank you for hosting this and for inviting me. And it has been wonderful. And I'm excited to see what other wonderful people you have on your show in the future. It's a great endeavor that you're doing. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Yvette. See you soon.
Bye. Thank you.